This story, though, this one's a doozy, I will say. From Walt Disney World News Today, video: Disney guest illegally flies drone over EPCOT Lagoon. This by Shannon Ace. Updated on July 9th, 2025. A Walt Disney World guest was recently caught illegally flying a drone over World Showcase Lagoon in EPCOT, and the legality is important here. Two videos shared by X-user Streetmosphere show the drone operator standing outside the American Adventure Pavilion. In the first video, he flies the drone past the American Gardens Theater over the lagoon, where crew members are preparing the fireworks barges for the evening show. In the second video, the drone flies back to the operator, who is standing outside the funnel cakes kiosk as several guests walk past. As the drone reaches the operator, a plainclothes security officer approaches. Another guest also steps forward to point out the drone. The security officer appears to be telling the guest they need to stop flying the drone as they attempt to land it. Let's go ahead and go to this X post right here. Usually have these loaded up in advance, but here you go. Look at that. That's quite a sizable drone, actually. And flying it over in this park, as Walt Disney World News Today astutely points out, is not just against the rules, but it is also against the law. It is very, very interesting. And we'll get into that little part of the story in just a moment. But Jonas, okay, how does this happen? Well, first of all, how do you get the drone in there? Like, I don't think drones are allowed at all inside Disney property. And two, what is within the mind of somebody who wants to actually fly a drone in Disney? Jonas, please help me out here.
Well, I mean, any kind of behavior that could have some kind of clout on social media, that's within the realm of a possible motive here. You know, not to turn it into a crime show here, but for the clout, seems like a reason that anyone might want to do this. Drone footage at Disney, you can imagine the number of views you would get on something like that. That's something that you could probably even sell that on a site like Shutterstock or any of those other things like that.
Well, I'm always looking for more B-roll, so that's.
Yeah, y'all hit me up if they let you keep the footage. Oh man, that would be absolutely. Who wouldn't want drone footage inside of the Magic Kingdom? But sure. I look at this and I think to myself, how in the world, what is security checking if they aren't checking for large mechanical objects that could be brought into the park? This is, okay, it's electric fans, so those are small. So maybe mechanical is the wrong word. Forgive me I'm not an engineer here, so forgive me if I say the wrong words, but this seems like the kind of thing that you would notice. There are movable arms, presumably, in order to get this in there. I'm assuming this is the kind of drone that collapses. And the things that I get stopped for when I'm going into the park, or let's say my wife and the stroller get stopped for, how is it that a drone would get through?
Okay, I don't want to detail Disney's security too much, right? But I happen to know that when you walk through security, if you have a large assemblage of metal objects in your bag or whatever, they'll usually take you to the side and just look to inspect it on its own. Now, that doesn't mean that if you don't have any of those things, they won't still stop you and still pull you through. That's a whole different discussion right there. But something as big as a drone, let's say, they usually do have security measures in place to prevent somebody from bringing something like that inside the parks. I am just absolutely surprised that somebody even was allowed to bring this into the first place.
Is there any chance that this was bought inside the park?
No way. No, there's not a chance at all. From what I understand, Disney doesn't have anything like this to be sold in the parks. And why would they? I mean, it is kind of a hazard if one were to take it out and to fly it around. And like the article actually said, it is technically against the law. Let me go ahead and go back to the article real fast, and I'll go ahead and show you all what I'm talking about. From Walt Disney World News Today again, it's not clear how the guest was able to bring the drone into the park. Drones are among the items prohibited at Walt Disney World, for obvious reasons. Flight, including by drones, is also restricted above Walt Disney World Resort, as explained in a planned Disney post. Unfortunately, This is both not permitted neither under Walt Disney World property rules that specifically list drones, nor according to the Federal Aviation Administration, which has issued a NOTAM, or a Notice to Airmen, number FDC 43634, that permanently restricts the airspace above Walt Disney World Resort, currently within a radius of 3 nautical miles. As you may know, the entirety of the private property extends not only to include the theme parks, but also the Disney Resort hotels, as well as locations like Disney Springs. Though having a drone weighing under 250 grams or 55 pounds currently does not require UAS aircraft registration through the Federal Aviation Administration, it is still subject to those restrictions that are very strictly enforced. I've observed that security cast members diligently remove drones and their operators both on land and especially on Disney Cruise Line, where signage is posted very visibly on Disney Castaway Key. It's just absolutely fascinating, Jonas, because like that whole paragraph actually pointed out, it is against the law to fly any drones at all. This is actually why we don't have drone shows in any of Disney's parks, at least currently. Now, there are, from what I understand, areas or pockets of Walt Disney World Resort that could host drone shows. And I think even though the paragraph right there actually lists out Disney Springs, I think this is also why areas of Disney Springs have been able to host drone shows in the past, because this flight restriction doesn't actually cover that area. But I remember EPCOT developing a drone show for many, many years, and then, well, the problem came up of, well, we had to lose our no flyover prohibition over Walt Disney World property if we actually go forward with a drone show on property like EPCOT or Magic Kingdom. Jonas, your thoughts on that particular aspect?
Well, that's it's fascinating because it offers them an amount of control that is not present at other parks. For instance, when Epic Universe opened, there was a political sign that was being flown above the park, being dragged by a plane, a sky, I don't want to say a Skyrider. It's not like they said Free Dorothy. I'll say that. That was above Epic Universe. So Disney doesn't want anything like that, but that means they can't do those drone shows at Magic Kingdom, at Epcot, and I'm pretty sure also Animal Kingdom. I'm not completely sure where the boundaries are. I know that Disney Springs is not within those boundaries because Disney Springs has had a drone show. I hear it's actually pretty cool and free when they do it. But I thought that was a more of a well done test as opposed to an actual permanent show. Also, one of the few things that we were outright praising that Disney did over the last little while. I'm just kind of flabbergasted at why would someone think that how ignorant does a person have to be to go into the park with a drone and think that they can get away with it and not have that drone confiscated or keep themselves from getting arrested when they're inside the park? The other item is, what if a cast member somehow got that in there? I'm now curious if the cast member security procedures are as stringent as they are for the guests. There are so many little things that I wonder here. How did this guy think that he was going to get away with it? Also, I'm glad to see the plainclothes security guy coming up and tell him to cut that out. He didn't look like if plainclothes security comes to you, they're probably not going to say, "Hey, friend. Hey, princess. Hey, cowboy," or whatever they call the male guests. They're going to say, "Put that down right now."
The plainclothes security actually stepping out of that role and addressing this in a public fashion in which he kind of exposes to everybody else that who he is and what he is, that was actually pretty surprising to me. And it really, I think, highlighted just the need to do something like this, because it was a kind of a dangerous situation, especially when it came to, the fireworks barges and all of that. That is not something you want to see at all. I want to go ahead and share my screen again to show everybody that Disney Springs, yes, it has had drone shows in the past. This is from a May 2024 post by Ashley Carter with a video provided by Keither37. And you can see right there, obviously, that is Disney Springs. You have that facility that allows for shows on that property right there. And, well, you can see drones as well. From what I understand, Disney would like to do drones over Magic Kingdom, over Epcot, and even places at Disneyland Resort, although there is that flight restriction, which is, I guess, a dual-edged sword, right? On the one hand, it's like, oh, hey, we don't necessarily have to contend with, helicopter tours and all of that flying over. But at the same time, it doesn't limit us in our entertainment nightly packages there. It's, it really is something. From what I can tell, look, please, people, leave your drones at home. If a drone flies off course, this can get really, really bad, as I believe was illustrated by Tony Baxter's team when they were developing their first drone show. It was really like a remote controlled helicopter over Sleeping Beauty Castle back in the 1980s. Like, if that goes sideways, that could be a real problem, and the lawyers have had something to say about that in the past. Jonas, your final thoughts?
No, I'm here. I'm in agreement with you. If you are thinking about flying a drone inside of Disney property, why don't you go ahead and try to get permission from Disney, and also don't do it because it's illegal.
Yes, it is. It is very, very illegal.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.